Bob Weiner's here with me right now, and Bob and I have talked over the years about these issues. Bob was the former head of aging. I just want to make sure I get this right. Former House Aging Committee Director, and talk about this issue, and is concerned that seniors are being scared by these headlines that are out there regarding Social Security. Bob, thank you so much. I know in all the ins and outs of politics, sometimes we're not talking about the issues the way we should.
Martha, it's great to be with you again after maybe a couple of years.
Well, and yeah, absolutely. And it's good to talk to you too, because, you know, look, I think Social Security is the easy thing to fix. I mean, yes, we have some issues, obviously, with the amount of money that's being paid out versus the amount of money that's coming in, the number of workers compared to the number of retirees, all of that stuff we've been talking about for years, right? I mean, we've been talking about that stuff for years. But
actually, it is a myth to say that Social Security has a financial problem. It has a $2.6 trillion surplus right now compared to the federal government having a $14 trillion deficit. What the policymakers are really trying to do, Martha, and I worked for the great Claude Pepper, who was the champion for the elderly. I was his chief of staff for the House Aging Committee and ran the committee when we brought in Colonel Sanders and abolished mandatory retirement. But he also struck the deal with Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan that saved Social Security in 1983. And if that deal doesn't mean anything, why should we even trust any next deal?
Well, you know, I think you ask a very good question, and as I travel around, that's what people are concerned. They don't trust the government, Bob, is what it is.
Well, they're right,
well, let me finish. Wait. Hold on. Let me ask the question, okay? You say there's a $2.6 or $2.3 trillion surplus, but where is that surplus right now?
That surplus is like a bank that borrowed, that has your money, you invested it, and then they give it to other people. They use it for other purposes. The government, by the law, in its trust fund, has that money owed to seniors. So it's like a bank. And anybody who says anything differently is actually talking in violation of what the law is, because by law, that money has to be held for seniors in trust and gets interest. And so that's why Social Security keeps making money. Look, it's a
How can it be paid back, though? How is it going to be paid back?
Story saying Social Security adding billions to budget woes, cash negative, or for last night in the debate for Tom Costello of CNBC to say that for the first time Social Security is going in the red. The $46 billion that this 1 year, because of the financial crisis, has a slight shortfall is now the 12th. That's number 12 year since 1963 that Social Security has had a temporary blip of a cash shortfall that's absorbed by the $2.6 trillion positive trust. So it is a scare tactic. What it is, I hate to say it, Martha, but it's Republicans and Wall Street who want to use Social Security's money and the defense contractors for other purposes. Nobody says the defense contractors have to pay back the money that they're using. Why should the money that's paid to seniors have to be paid back and taken from them? They paid in. It's an insurance program.
But here's my issue with it, okay? And certainly we need to change things. There's a number of things that we need to change with it because, you know, we're living longer. It is, you know, I think we need to set aside the need to reform Social Security and Medicare, which we certainly need to do. I mean, if I had a magic wand, what I would do tomorrow is I would change the age of Medicare to match Social Security, because when I'm 52, when I retire, I'm not going to start drawing benefits until I'm 67. So I ought not draw Medicare benefits till I'm 67 either. So let's set that part of it aside and talk about the money for a moment. I don't disagree with you that there are IOUs and that money has been borrowed and it's like a bank.
That's exactly right.
My problem, Bob, is there's no plan to pay it back. That's what my problem is. There's no plan to pay it back. In fact, the plan is by Democrats and Republicans.
Wait a minute,
Bob. Wait a minute. Bob, wait a minute. The plan by Democrats and Republicans is just to have more debt and not to pay it back.
That's the rest of the government, though, not Social Security, which even in the worst-case scenario in 2037 only has a 23 starts then, when the trust fund then evens out slowly to get to a 23% shortfall, which is one-third of the cost of the Iraq War or one-third of the cost of the Bush tax breaks for the rich. It's a tweak, it's a blip, and Nancy Pelosi is absolutely right. First, do no harm. So to take money from seniors, to expand the age, and by the way, you mentioned Medicare, 14 years of solvency were added by the health bill, which the Republicans want to repeal. So that's a really stupid thing to do, and it also was very stupid to take from the payroll tax, which was what is funding Social Security. There are a number of stupid
Well,
policy
President
things.
Obama
So those
did
are
that.
corrections that should, I think Michelle Bachmann is an idiot, but she had one very positive thing to say in the debate last night, which is, don't keep taking from the payroll tax, which takes from Social Security.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Here's my issue, Bob, and I know you and I are going to disagree on who's at fault here. But if you look, the rewriting of the 2000s, there was more revenue every single year of those tax cuts until we got into the problem we were in 08. Okay, so we took in more revenue every single year. So I would disagree that the tax cuts cost a problem. I would disagree with you about that. However, we do need to get together and really talk. And my problem is that beginning, and I don't know who started this business of not actually passing bills the way they should be passed, where you pass them in the House, you pass them in the Senate, you go to conference committee. I don't like the super committee. I don't like the fact that the health care bill was passed without a conference committee. I don't like going around the rules, and we've got to get back to following the rules.
Well, I don't disagree with you at all. The reason that the health bill had to be passed that way was because the Republicans refused to allow a 50-vote margin. They were insisting on a 60-vote margin, which is nowhere in the Congress. So we used the
rules in the
process
Senate.
of budget called
The
sequestration
Senate is allowed
to pass according to the Constitution.
The Senate is allowed to make their own rules according to the Constitution.
They're allowed to, but that doesn't mean the people have to support them or that the process has. The rules also allowed sequestration, which is a 50-vote margin, not a 60.
Well, but they still didn't go to conference committee.
Well,
and they should have gone to conference committee.
And they were blocking a bill. So another rule was used.
Yeah, but see, your attitude on the left was, if we don't pass this, the sky is going to fall. My attitude as a person who's a more conservative person and who believes in the system is that if you didn't win in March of 2009 or 2010, whatever it was, then you come back and you fight another day. That's what people want you to do. People want you to be honest and above board in what you're doing. And this is why Democrats lost in 2010. This is why people still don't trust government. In my region, a poll was recently taken where 98%, the pollster said they had never seen a number like this before. 98% said the country's going in the wrong direction. We've got to start being accountable to people.
Well, there's no question that 75% is what the consensus polls show now, say the country's going in the wrong direction. But they also, Martha, blame obstruction by the Congress against what the administration is trying to do by 15 points more. So that then the Democrats.
And that's true, and that's absolutely true. But right now, the president has a Democratic Senate that they are stacking bills up like cordwood. Fine, they don't like the House. We've had plenty of times in our history where we've had split House and Senate.
Right.
There were plenty of times where there was a Republican Senate and a Democrat Congress. Okay,
right.
Plenty of times.
And
these bills are being passed. No.
This Weiner, and before that Gingrich started the process of the split screen where nothing can get done and you have to lock-step army march to the votes. And that is the disaster that we're facing, and that's why we have this bipartisan.
Harry Reid needs to get off
now.
Harry Reid needs to start bringing these bills to the floor, Bob. And you know as well as I do that he's afraid to bring them to the floor because there are 23 or 24 Democrats up for election in 2012. And he knows there's a number of those Democrats that are going to vote for some of these bills.
He has brought every jobs bill to the floor of the Senate.
I'm not talking about jobs bills. I'm talking about
it's more important to defeat Obama than to pass a jobs bill, whether it's for police, firefighters, or whether it's even now the veterans one is up for question. That might pass because that has such consensus. But they have stopped every jobs bill, and yet we have a 9% unemployment rate.
The Republicans have passed a bunch of jobs bills, but he has not brought them all up to a vote. He's brought the president's bills up to a vote.
Passed them. It takes 50 votes, and the Republicans don't have them. So when you have a consensus, and the basis of funding is the tax breaks against millionaires, which they even want to have. They want to reduce those tax breaks. And the Republicans won't pass the bill because they don't want to take away
and Bob,
from their
this is what I love about you. You are a committed liberal, and I love that about you, and I love debating you. Thank you so much for being with us
Martha,
today.
Great to be with you. Thanks so much. Let's do it again.
877-333-6620. We'll be back on the Martha Zoller Show.